If politics were a video game and the president were a character you could play, tariffs would be your most powerful economic move. The USA is uniquely a reasonably big country with a huge consumer class by global standards. So most every sizable company in the world needs to sell here. The argument against tariffs is that they just tax the U.S. consumer. If you say I have to pay $100 to bring my $100 widget over from China, I'll just charge $200 for it. But it doesn't always work that way. What tariffs can also do is encourage companies to avoid the extra charge by making things here in the U.S., or they can level the playing field for U.S. manufacturers who are getting crushed by cheap imports. So you can't just swallow these headlines that claim tariffs are just a tax on U.S. consumers. If tariffs always dramatically raise prices for consumers, why didn't that happen in 2018 and 2019?
The good news is we have President Trump's previous term when everyone said none of this was going to work. Oh, the China tariffs are going to do this. They're going to cause inflation. They didn't. This is going to happen to working class. It's going to be bad for working class Americans. Well, guess what? Working class Americans, the hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of households, their net worth increased faster than the top 10% of households.
Understand the conditions that the bottom 50% in this country currently experience on a day-to-day basis, that they've been experiencing in some ways since the 1970s, in other ways certainly since 2008. That's why you're seeing the growth of rapid populism. That's why the initial Tea Party, the economic nationalism and the economic populism, the initial Tea Party, the Occupy Wall Street movement, both within a few years of each other. That's why they're raising up so much right now. That's why they're coming up so much. And one is populist left and one is populist right. We've been talking about this for a long time here on the program, trying to explain what's really been going on. One is we want conditions better for the American people, not living at the expense. Why are we paying for the defense of Europe when we have these situations in our country for the bottom 50%? Why are we paying for the defense of the entire world when it comes down to this? Why? That's why President Trump is having the peace meetings that he's having. We're not paying for it anymore. We're not underwriting your defense. The security umbrella is getting smaller. You guys are going to have to do something that's called a little bit of shouldering your burden. Okay? It's done. The unfunded mandates to, anything goes wrong in Europe, we're going to take care of that. Anything goes wrong in the Middle East, we're going to take care of that. To Asia, don't worry, we got it. We got this here, we got that there. 25,000 troops here, 25,000 troops there. All the troops in Stuttgart, all the troops on the Korean Peninsula, all the troops in Japan, all the troops all throughout the Middle East, all the air bases that we have there. Here's an aircraft carrier. You get an aircraft carrier. You get an aircraft carrier. Who pays for all that? Where do you think the money comes for all that? The money comes from the American people. The money comes on you and your children and everybody else that's putting into the system. And we do so because we think that's making America better. But meanwhile, while all that's happening, while we're paying for this massive global system, and we keep borrowing from overseas to be able to do so, you come back home and you say, what's going on at home? Oh, wait, the factory closed down. So it used to be you won World War II, you came home, you got a job at a local factory. Well, guess what? Now you get back from Iraq, now you get back from Syria, now you get back from Afghanistan, pulled out, missing limbs, and suddenly, oh wait, there's no factory. Sorry, factory's closed, but there's a fentanyl dealer who's taking up shop outside so you can hang out with him. Oh, you want to take your kids down to Kensington, go do some shopping on the weekend? Sorry, fentanyl zombies everywhere. No, Wall Street's addiction to cheap Chinese labor actually has an interesting parallel to the fentanyl addictions, of middle America, because in a sense, the fentanyl comes from China, just like the cheap labor. It's done to weaken the inside of the United States and hollow us out on both angles. And it's happening on both angles. It's China that's winning on both ends here. On both ends. They got you coming, they got you going. They got your upstairs and they have your downstairs. Remember the PPP loans for the savvy thieves? It was like redistribution. It was like reparations. Who knows what it was? Look, the loan fraud is everywhere. And Besson is right. The bottom 50%, what do they have? They have the credit card debt. Let me tell you something right now. Power does not come through consumerism. Liberty doesn't just necessarily mean the right to make 10 choices at Starbucks or which color Nike you're going to wear. Liberty comes from knowing where your food comes from, where your medicine comes from, and not having to rely on nations with dictators, totalitarian regimes that want our way of life extinct. That was the Great Reset. That's what it was all about. It was Chinese ownership of America, Chinese ownership and control of the American people, particularly in these areas, particularly in these depressed areas. And that's how you get situations like Springfield, Ohio, where the town leaders say, oh, gosh, what are we ever going to do to revitalize the town? I know, let's import 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 Haitians. Let's just do that. Let's bring them all in. Sorry about all the cats and dogs in town. Where'd they go? Oops. Don't worry, though. The Haitians are all working at the meatpacking plant, and they'll be able to take care of it for you. Oh, yeah, you're worried about your kids going shopping down on Main Street? No, don't worry. Don't worry about that for 1 second. It's a joke. It's been a joke for years, and it's all got to stop. It's all got to stop. The free ride is over. No more bailouts for Wall Street. It's a bailout for Main Street. If you don't have your latte money, oh, no, I can't afford a latte. Oh, no, you'll be all right. Because trust me, every working class American that got their knees broken by the housing crisis or by COVID and got backstabbed by the people that they thought they could trust, well, they haven't had a latte in a minute. Those are the people living with debt. Those are the people saying, you know what, maybe Luigi has a point. Those are the people saying, you know what, I don't think AOC goes hard enough. I don't think Bernie goes hard enough. I want to burn the whole thing to the ground, and I'm going to start with the local Tesla dealership. Do you understand? Do you understand how we get there? That's the Unhumans playbook. That's what they do. They go into one of these situations, they start preying on people's fears, and they say, you know what? It's not your fault. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's the white man's fault. It's Christians' fault. And you need to fight against all of them. Fight against Trump. Fight against Elon Musk. Fight against the white, affluent, male Christians. Fight against the patriarchy. Aslan can be a girl. Who cares? Fight against the patriarchy. Destroy them. Tear everything down. You get it? Do you get where this is all driven from? Why there's a market for these things? Because people out there are angry. People out there are upset. You got people watching the Joker movie, the first one, not the second one, because we don't talk about the second one. They're watching that movie and saying, you know what? Seems like a good idea. So this is my message to the folks saying, why is Trump doing all this? Why is Trump making all of these choices? Trump is just going off. Trump is doing it. No, it's not random. It's not random at all. It's about actually improving conditions for the working class and middle class of this country that have been completely blown out. They've been blown out. You go to some of these areas, the Rust Belt, go to Sandusky, Ohio, go to Western Pennsylvania, go throughout Michigan, throughout Wisconsin. It looked like they lost a war. And in many ways, they kind of did. In many ways, they kind of actually did lose a war. And meanwhile, you got people on the coast. Look, I've been there. I've seen them, been everywhere. Right? You got people on the coast living large. Hey, let's go buy a bigger yacht. Hey, let's go buy a bigger plane. And meanwhile, you go to some of these other areas and you say, how do you even make it down the street? How do you live here every day? How do you do this? It's hard scrabble. And it's done. The free ride is absolutely over. It's time for the American people to get a piece. That is the point of the MAGA populist right. That is the reason that we had a populist uprising in this country. And if you want to come on board, the movement, then please do. But also understand that this issue, the issue of trade and economics, just like the issue of immigration to the MAGA movement, is foundational. This is a foundational issue of the movement. We are not changing it. We are not negotiating it. We are not backing down.